Okay, welcome everyone. We're going to take a look on how to play NEXUM Galaxy. Okay, we're going to do a little tutorial, a little brief explanation of how everything, all the mechanics of the game works. Okay, so this is a galactic game, a galactic battles game. It's for 1 to 4 players. The core set includes the elements for all 4 players to play, as well as an AI deck, an event deck, and AI deck, which will allow you to add a little bit of randomness to the game. And also to play solo with other people, to add AI players to the game, etc., etc. All right? So, a game of NEXUM Galaxy is played in rounds. Each round, each of the players is going to play one of their cards. They're going to do actions with that. And they're going to try to either collect the relics or win in different battles to get points in the victory track. Okay? The game ends once one player collects all 4 relic tokens. It could be more on a game, depending on the scenario. In this scenario, it's only 4. Or when one of the players reaches either 6 or 7, depending on the number of players, of battle victories. Eliminating people from their stars, which I'll explain in a minute, will also give you victory points. But we'll take a look at that in a second. So, to set up the game, first thing we have to do is select the scenario. You check that in the advanced book and you set up the scenario as indicated in the manual. Then, once you have a little experience, you can also create your own scenarios, but that's a little bit more advanced, so we will not look deep into that. We'll go with this preset scenario here. All right. Once we have the scenario set up, we will select which of the players is going to be the starting player. All right, the starting player will be the first to play each round, and the starting player will change during the rounds by the players paying energy to get initiative. We'll see that in a minute. So, once that's done, each player is going to select a color, a civilization, all right? In this core set, all civilizations play the same, there's no differences. But if you get the expansion of the game, then each of them will have a little bit of personality, there would be a little asymmetric gameplay, and they would all get a little bit of background story as well. So it's going to add a lot of flavor and a bit more of a different type of game. Okay, so first let me put this here together because it moved a little bit. So as I was saying, each of the players is going to get 4 face cards, okay? And we have 2 different actions, which are the management phase and the movement phase, and then 2 combined cards, which allow you to do one first and then the other. These are very powerful. We'll look at that in a minute. Once all the players have their face cards, then we would put the token, the victory markers and the track. If there's an AI player, which could be like in this case, they would start in 1 point. The regular human players would always start with 0 points. Then each of the players gets 4 ships in their starting planet, in their starting solar system, in their TAN planet, their base planet. Okay, actually it's the TAN system, not the planet. And they also collect 3 energy points for each of the players. All right. Once that's done, we will set the relics on the board, which we already did before, but this would be according to the scenario. Once all of this has been done, we're ready to start playing. Okay, so how do we play? The game is going to be played in rounds, as we explained before, and we're going to take turns in clockwise order. So let's say I have the starting player, I would play first, and during my turn, I would select one of my 4 cards. Let's take a look at the 2 main ones. First, we have the maintenance card. This card is going to allow us to first extract energy from the different planets we have conquered, and then we're going to be able to build or replicate new ships in those planets, all right? So let's imagine that I had a couple of ships over here. So in this case, I would collect 1 energy for each of my planets, all right? In a total of 3, which I would get from the reserve. Let's imagine that instead of this distribution, I had this distribution. When you conquer all 3 planets in a system, you can also conquer the star there. Once you have the star is going to protect your ships in the planets, and it's also going to give you extra energy. So if I had this, I would collect 1, 2, 3 energy, plus 2 from the star, a total of 5. All right? Then we would go into the replication or building phase, and I could build new ships. You can build up to 3 ships in total, 1 per planet, okay? And the cost is going to increase as I build more ships. The first one would cost 2 energy, and I would add it to any of my planets, not the star, always a planet. Then I would pay 3 energy for a second ship. I'm going to just move this around, no worries. And we would do it in a different planet because I already built in this one. All right. And then, wait, I had, actually I messed up a little bit here. I had 8, I spent 2, then I spent 3. My third ship would cost 4 energy. Since now I don't have 4 energy, I couldn't do it. But if I had 4, I could pay and I could build a third ship, which would have to forcibly go into this planet because it's the only one where I haven't built. Remember, limit of 3 ships per construction phase. Okay, that would be the maintenance phase. Once I've done that, my turn would end and the next players would play. The second possible action is the phase, the movement phase. The movement phase allows you to move your ships either within the same sector, to a nearby sector, which are the ones that are in contact adjacent to your current sector where the ship is departing, or you could go to a far sector, to a distant sector, and that would cost 3 energy. So, to recap, if I want to move within the same sector, I would have to pay 1 energy, and I could move one of my ships to the star or any of the other planets. If I wanted to go to a nearby sector, I would have to pay 2 energy, and I would move to any of the planets here. And if I wanted to go to a faraway sector, I would have to pay 3 energy. Sorry, let's do it like this so it's clear. And I can move to any of the sectors that I'm not in contact with, including, for example, the sector of another player. Okay? This is usually a bad idea because they would kill me very quickly, but that's a different story. So, those are the actions. You can do either movement, which means moving and fighting, which I'll explain in a second, and maintenance phase. So, I didn't explain the combat, which is a very important part of the game. So, let's imagine that this ship is right here, and I want to move during my movement phase to conquer this, this ship. So, first of all, to move ships, I have to move ships from planets where I have at least 2 ships, because you can never abandon a planet you already own. So, in this case, I could, let's say I have 4 energy tokens, I could pay 2 to move 1 over here, and I could pay another 2 to move this other one over here. Why 2 ships? Because you have to have more attack points than the enemy's defense. This is a direct calculation. They have 1 attack point per ship, so I would need 2 ships to actually defeat the enemy. All right? If this was a larger battle, let's imagine that the enemy had a couple of ships here, obviously I would need to add a 3rd ship, paying the energy cost to travel, but now they're going to defend themselves. Once there is more than 1 enemy ship in the location you're attacking, in the planet you are attacking, you would lose half the ships as the quantity they have there. In this case, they have 2, so I would lose 1 ship and destroy all 2 of the enemy's ships. Once this happens, I, the yellow player, would get 1 victory point, which would add for my total victory point count, making me, putting me closer to the win. All right? Another thing that we can do with movement, okay, let's say I'm going to pay 2 energy here, we can move to a location where there is a relic. All right? If there is no one there, you collect the relic automatically. The relic, there's 4 different relics, they all have different powers, and they are going to give you advantages during the game. Also, if you collect all 4, as explained before, you would gain the game. In this case, this is an extractor energy, which is going to have 2 consequences. First, is going to make my ship heavier, so it's going to be more expensive to move. Then I'm not going to be able to enter stars with these ships, with relics. And finally, in this case, this is the extractor relic, and it's going to allow me to get more resources when I'm extracting with this particular ship. We also have the military relic, which would give you extra attack or defense. The replicator relic, which will allow you to build additional ships during your management phase for only 1 energy. And finally, the transport relic, which will allow you to move your fleets cheaper. They will discount 1 energy for every ship in that fleet. All right? So let's do a quick recap. Maintenance, we collect energy, and then we build ships. Movement, you move to different planets, you fight with the enemies there, and finally, once you have finished your movement, you also plunder energy from the planets you've moved to. So in this case, let's imagine that I move to these 3 positions during my turn. So that would mean that I would get 3 energy for each of the large planets, 1 energy for the small planet, and in case that I conquered either a medium or a star, I would also get 2 energies from the medium planet and 4 energies from the star. Okay, so depending on what you conquer, you would get a different amount of points. Don't forget that to conquer the star, you need to have ships in all the planets of the sector. Okay, so those would be the B2 main cards. As explained before, and as you can see, we also have the combined actions, which would allow you to do both of them in the same turn. First management and then movement. So first you would collect energy, build ships, and then move those ships, or the opposite. First move, conquer, and then collect energy. And that would be it. We would play different rounds until one of the players reaches the victory conditions, which is either, as said before, reaching 6 or 7 points, depending on the number of players, or having all 4 relics in your possession. Okay, which would be, look, something like this. Once 4 of your ships have this, the game would immediately end, and that player would be the winner. And the same thing would happen with the victory points. Once the player reaches 6 or 7 points, that player would be the winner. Last but not least, we have the event card, which I mentioned before, the event deck. This event deck is going to allow you to control AI players. So if you are playing solo or if you want to add additional enemies to your games with friends, you can use this deck to control one of the factions, or you can just use it to add different events that are going to happen on the board. To use this deck, we're going to draw the first 3 cards of the deck, making a line. Then we're going to check where the event happens, what the effects are, and in some cases, if the aggressiveness levels rose or lowers, which is not the case, but you can take that out in the advanced guide included in the core set. And that's pretty much it. Nice light game, perfect for having a quick battle with your friends. A lot of thinking, but not complex to play. So, highly recommend it. Hope you enjoyed the explanation. Hope you backed us on the Kickstarter. And have a great time playing NEXUM Galaxy.